Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm joined by the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Protection, Brian Caffarelli, and together we're here to announce that the state of Connecticut has sued 7 more Connecticut-based retailers and wholesalers for selling and distributing illegal cannabis products. Let me ask the Section Chief of our Consumer Protection Section, Mike Wertheimer, to join us here too. Mike leads all of our work in this area with our great team in consumer protection. But let me just say that we're going after these 7 retailers and wholesalers. It includes the following. The wholesalers are Shark Wholesale Corporation in Bridgeport, Star Enterprise 74 in New Britain, and RZ Smoke in Suffield. And then the 4 retailers are Greenleaf Farms in New London, Smokers Corner in Norwich, Anesthesia, Convenience and Smoke in New Haven, and Planet Zaza in East Haven. Before we brought these actions, I want to note that this is the product of a long investigation of each of these wholesalers and retailers in which there were multiple visits and multiple opportunities given by Mike and Brian and their teams for these companies and these retailers and wholesalers to do the right thing, to understand that what they were selling is illegal and wrong under Connecticut law, and to make it right. And despite our efforts to work with them, because they're Connecticut-based businesses, and to have a dialogue and conversation with them, despite our efforts, they still refuse to comply. And so we have no choice but to bring these lawsuits against them. Let me just review quickly. Yes, we have adult use cannabis here in Connecticut. That's the law. And the legislature and the governor made that judgment, and we are in the process of implementing an adult use market. Not just for people to use, but for people to buy. And that marketplace is regulated by the state of Connecticut and principally by the Department of Consumer Protection and Commissioner Caffarelli. Under our adult use regulated cannabis market, yes, if you're an adult, you can use cannabis products, but they have to be legal cannabis products, and you have to acquire them if you buy in Connecticut from a licensed dispensary, and the licensed dispensary can only dispense products that comply with state law. And there are very strict requirements around who can sell, who has the license to sell, the manner in which they're sold, and the products, and how those products are supposed to look, and the potency of those products, how they're supposed to be tested. There are a myriad of regulations around the regulated market because, and I think this was the right policy judgment, the legislature and the governor and the department wanted to make sure to protect people here in Connecticut and ensure public safety, particularly to make sure that the adult use cannabis market is limited to adults, right? We are trying to keep cannabis products, especially illicit, untested, dangerous cannabis products, out of the hands of children. And so I've said it many times, I'll underscore it again. Just because we have an adult use cannabis market doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. It doesn't mean that you can sell whatever product you want at any time in any place. It doesn't mean that you can use any product that isn't legal under state law or in many cases under federal law. And it doesn't mean you can conduct any kind of business at any time, however you please. You have to follow the law, and that's why we're here today. And our role, and my role as a chief civil law enforcement officer, is to enforce the law. You know, I think there's been some people who've said that I've taken an unnecessary interest in this topic, or that I'm a buzzkill, you know, for lack of a better description. And I'm not trying to be, right? I understand there's an adult use market, and I'm not trying to interfere with people's rights and their prerogative to access cannabis as adults in the regulated market. What I do insist on, and what we all insist on, is that you follow the law. And just because you have a good time doing something doesn't mean you don't have to follow the law. The other thing I want to note is over the holidays, I was talking about some of the products that were featured here today, and my 17-year-old daughter said at the dinner table, "Ba, you know, these illegal cannabis products you talk about, these products that are packaged to look like common snack foods, that's not a thing." And I said, "Eleanor, it is a thing. It very much is a thing, and here they are." And so I just want to step forward here for a second. I know the mics are here, but what we're talking about on the one hand are products that not only look alike, but are counterfeit products that look and represent themselves to be common snack foods, like Doritos, Takis, okay, Ruffles. All of these products, right, if you look at these, can I touch these? Okay. If you look at these products, sometimes I have to wear gloves when we touch some of the evidence that we acquire. But this says Doritos, okay? But if you read the fine print, it says it has THC of 600 milligrams. The maximum, Commissioner, that you can have in a package in Connecticut is 100 milligrams. This is 6 times the amount that you're allowed to have legally. And in this illegal, counterfeit, bootleg product, it says Doritos. It has 600 milligrams. If you leave this product on a counter because you're an adult and you're not being careful, and some young person, a 5-year-old, sees this product, right, on a kitchen counter or in a car. We've heard about these products in school buses. Kids have been opening them and eating them and ingesting the entire package. 6 times the legal amount of an entire package, which, by the way, 100 milligrams is way too much for an adult to take at one time. 6 times is way too much for anybody, much less a child. We've had in Connecticut poison control, since we've started tracking this information, I think from 2021, we've had 400 reported cases by Connecticut Poison Control of poisonings by people under 18, and in most cases, they've gone to the hospital. Okay, the emergency room. You take a whole bag of this, you're going to the hospital. And so you see the Doritos here, the Fritos, and then there are other products that aren't exactly copycats of other common snack foods, but they're very appealing looking. These are sour worms, high potency. You know, the colors, the packaging, they're made to look like things that are fun to eat, and they're very appealing to kids and young people. And so in the past, as you know, we now are up to 10 different enforcement actions against retailers and wholesalers here in Connecticut. These are examples of the products that we're most concerned about. In our various enforcement actions and raids, we have Kaylee Ribeiro here from our Consumer Protection section. In our various enforcement actions, what we've discovered is that retailers are selling these products openly on their shelves. Now, after we started this work, we've noticed that they've started to pull back on these products because they know we're onto them. But in many of our raids and enforcement actions and our repeated visits, we found not just these products, but marijuana flower, cannabis flower, that they're definitely not allowed to sell in smoke shops. We found wads of cash. We found ledgers of illicit products. We found other illicit drugs. We found firearms. We found things hidden in secret compartments and in ceiling tiles. And so not only are these retailers selling things they're not supposed to sell, but they know they're not supposed to sell them. In one of the companies that we've sued today, we're even seeing fake labels that suggest that this is This labels medical cannabis. It has an RX symbol on it. This is utterly fake, counterfeit. And they put these labels on products to represent falsely that the products they're selling are part of the medical cannabis product, medical marijuana market and program, and that they're somehow safe for consumption as medicine or as therapy. Let me close by saying there's been some discussion about certain products and whether there's a loophole, Delta 8 products, Delta 9 products, THCO products, and we've heard some people say, well, those are legal under federal law, or there's a loophole. They're not legal. There's no loophole, period. They're illegal under Connecticut law, and if you're selling them, we're going to come after you. Any product that has 0.3% THC or higher must be sold in a licensed dispensary, period. Full stop in Connecticut. And you cannot sell them outside of a licensed dispensary, and there's no loophole to allow you to do that. The final thing I'll say before I turn it over to the Commissioner is this is, to the extent that people think this is some kind of morality statement or that certain of us in law enforcement are making some judgment about these products, it's not at all about that. I just want to be really clear. This is about public health. That's why the laws are here. That's why they're written the way they're written. It's to keep people safe. It's to make sure that the cannabis that they ingest is safe and tested and regulated and of a potency that people can handle, and that it doesn't get in the hands of children. And at the end of the day, as a parent of a 17-year-old, 15-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and so many other parents across Connecticut, even if you're a parent who enjoys adult use cannabis products, you don't want your kids ingesting it, and you don't want them ingesting untested, unregulated products in such quantities that'll send you to the hospital. And so that's why we're compelled to bring these enforcement actions. I want to thank my partner, the Department of Consumer Protection, and his team, Commissioner Brian Caffarelli. Let me thank Assistant Attorneys General Jonathan Blake, Michael Nunes, Addison Kelty, and of course, Deputy Associate Attorney General Mike Wertheimer. And with that, let me turn it over to Brian Caffarelli. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I do want to thank the Attorney General and his team. DCP and the Attorney General's office have a great relationship, and it's very rewarding to work on issues like this with him. And thank you for all the work that you do. Alongside with me here today, Rod, if you would come up, is our Drug Control Director. I don't mean to, no. Who is in charge of the Drug Control Division and this regulated market. I want to underscore a few things that the Attorney General said. Yes, for adults who are 21 years or older who choose to consume cannabis, they should do so in the regulated market. And there's many benefits to doing that. First and foremost is that there's rigorous testing required because all these products, which are illegal, are untested. We have no idea what's in them, and they could have harmful, we don't know the amount of cannabis, if it is cannabis, if there are other drugs in there, and it could be very harmful. There's testing, there's labeling requirements in our regulated market so that consumers know what they are receiving and they are getting exactly what they are paying for. The unregulated products, I can't underscore this enough, are often untested. They're from unverified sources. Our regulations require that no label should appeal to a child, which, all of these, I think, arguably do. The Wonka bar, true. All packaging must be child-resistant and tamper-proof. And then part of a warning on every package shall say, keep away from children. Products that are being sold illegally or in other states often have deceptive packaging, does not clearly indicate to the consumer what they are ingesting could be dangerous. All of these fit that bill. especially when there's children in the home, as the Attorney General points out. If they see one of these products, they'll pick it up, they'll eat it, and he's correct. That product there has 6 times the legal amount for a package, not a serving size. Most of the products outside the regulated market are untested, unsafe, particularly when consumed by children. They're packaged in a way that's misleading, signaling to consumers that the product inside is safe when it's not, and most shamefully are often sold to people who are underage and may not realize the effects of what they're consuming. Adults who choose to consume cannabis should shop in the regulated market and keep products out of sight from children. We also encourage parents to speak to their children about the harmful effects of these products and what they should do if they come across them. So I thank the Attorney General for his work.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions?
Is it safe to say that the findings are a result of various sting operations, and if so, how long have those taken?
You know, we had a conversation about that. We visit the retailers, and yes, we purchase products as we build our investigation, but this is not the product of a single sting. I think that that's an unfair characterization. We then go back and we say, hey, guys, you know, we found these, we bought these products. For example, this, I think, Planet Zaza in New Haven? East Haven. And we say, this is illegal. You can't be doing this. And we try to engage with them in a dialogue and a conversation, you know, to give them an opportunity to do the right thing, to make sure they're informed about the law, to make sure they understand that they're illegal. And sometimes those are productive conversations. Sometimes they're not.
Why is the lawsuit the avenue you're taking? Because couldn't you pull their license? If they're breaking the law, couldn't they be criminally charged?
I'll let Mike talk about that and what the potential penalties are. Yes, there are potential criminal sanctions. We don't have that authority here in the Attorney General's office, so we bring civil penalties, and already our investigations and prosecutions in other cases have yielded settlements, and people have paid fines and penalties.
That's right. The legal enforcement actions that we're suing, that's the authority of this office. You're correct that there are criminal penalties in play, and those are in the purview of the local police and the prosecutors. And we do work closely with them and share the findings that we have, and we can't speak for them. As to pulling their license, that's a regulatory function that's held by the Department of Consumer Protection, defer to them. All the options are on the table and are discussed. We're just talking here today about this specific element of that.
CCP, do you plan to pull their licenses?
Yeah,
What happens
I
with
can
that?
add some context to that. So we are working closely with the Attorney General. This is one tool in the toolbox. We're also working with law enforcement and the Department of Revenue Services to crack down on the sale of these unregulated hemp products. For the licenses, we do have, I think, the last number was 131 cases involving licensed facilities. First of all, they have to be licensed by us for us to pull their license. Not all these establishments are, but the ones that are, they have something called an ENDS license, which is the vape shops are licensed, so we can use that to go after their license. But we've also worked from the criminal side of things with the Chief State's Attorney's Office and helped them conduct training to the state police and local law enforcement about this law that the legislature passed last year, that, you know, the Attorney General cites that all these products are illegal, full stop. And so there is no loophole, and we have level set that with, we're supporting the Chief State's Attorney and law enforcement in that endeavor as well.
Were any of those 7 licensed dispensaries?
No. None of them are. None of them are. Let me note, by the way, that these are not for cannabis, right? These are representative products and not necessarily, from each of these retailers, but this is the product of our investigation overall. This is a product from one of the companies being sold today.
Can you give us an update on the lawsuits you announced last year about the same kind of thing?
Sure.
We brought lawsuits against 7 retailers. 3 of those have resolved by settlement. 4 remain pending in litigation.
there was fines paid by someone?
But the three that we've settled, yes, fines and injunctive relief, that basically agreements that they have to cease the illegal conduct, come into compliance with the law. And there are penalties associated if we find out that they are not complying with those restrictions.
What kind of fines? How much?
$10,000. That was for the initial round. That was when, that was what we felt was appropriate under the circumstances, given the newness of the market. The market is not as new anymore, and there's more awareness out there. Yes.
So we should expect this next round to be higher if it gets that?
Can't prejudge, and you know, each of these cases is different, but that's certainly on the table.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, look, $10,000 for a small business is a lot of money. It may not sound like a lot, given the sorts of dollars I often talk about in some of our big settlements, but it reflects our effort to speak with local retailers, engage in a dialogue with them, and get them to do the right thing. One of the things that we also do is have them put up a sign about products that are legal and not legal, and so that consumers understand that the store is no longer selling anything that isn't compliant with law. But let me just say to anybody out there who continues to sell these products and thinks there's a loophole, we are coming after you, and the penalty for each violation is $5,000. And so if you openly flout the law and you're not cooperative and you don't stop this conduct, you're going to get whacked and at $5,000 a pop. And that's just not, well, $5,000 per shop. That's $5,000 per violation.
You were talking about 400 poisonings. Were
Yeah.
those all THC poisonings? Do you know?
I believe that's the number for cannabis-related poisonings. Yeah, edibles mostly. THC.
Question for Commissioner Caporelli. Can you just sort of, we're about a year out, right, from the opening of these retailers. It was January 10th last year. Can you kind of articulate what makes regulating this substance more difficult than something like alcohol?
Well, I didn't say that it was more difficult than regulating alcohol.
Well, we're here, right? And we've had multiple press conferences. It's just, I would imagine it's kind of a growing pains thing, but what makes this more, or I guess I'm saying it's more difficult because it
Okay.
seems it from the outside.
No, it certainly, there is an educational component of it. And I think that it's not just education, that these people most likely know what the law is and are skirting it because they're trying to participate in a market that's regulated.
Yes.
And that's why the actions of the Attorney General are so important, to send this message that it's not allowable, it will not be tolerated, that the legal market exists for a reason. And I think that most people understand that they know that they're getting a product that's been tested, that's been safe, and that these products that are being sold are not. And so it's really not, there's an educational component, but there is kind of the law keeping up with some of these bad actors, which I think the legislature and policymakers have done a good job doing. And so now it's time to enforce these laws. And so this is a large component of that, things that you see today. And it's sending a very clear message to these shops that have been warned. I mean, so they know, and they've been warned. All these shops that have been sued were warned on multiple occasions. They've been visited several times. And finally, you have to put some stick behind it, and that's what's happening today. And so it's helpful for you all to be here and to send that message. Now, the education will also come with parents talking to their children about these products they may come across. But, that's...
Yeah, and sometimes people try to draw some equivalency between alcohol or cigarettes and other similar regulated products in the cannabis market. They're very different, and I would just observe alcohol, for example, is a highly regulated market that's quite mature, right? Because it's been regulated for so long. And one of the challenges is that we are relatively new to this program and this product, and there's a lot of I wouldn't say people don't understand. They do understand. I don't think anybody doesn't understand that there's a regulated market and you have to follow the rules. But there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation about there, what you can and can't do and what you can get away with. And that, you don't see that in the alcohol market. And the other thing that we don't see in other regulated markets are bootleg, deceptive, counterfeit, dangerous, untested products. Okay, and that's what is most concerning to us, because more often than not, these products are misused by children, and they end up going to the hospital.
Can you give us an update on the gifting party?
Yeah.
stuff?
So we sent cease and desist letters to the operators of the High Bazaar and to the Masonic temple that was hosting the High Bazaar. This isn't the first time, by the way, that we've engaged with them and advised them that what they were doing was unlawful. It is clear that whatever loophole they thought existed no longer exists. It has been closed affirmatively by the legislature. So it's against the law to operate these gifting, that's a total misnomer. They're not gifting, they're selling cannabis at these events. This is a retail operation, and it is totally outside the regulated market and unlawful. My understanding is they canceled last weekend's High Bazaar because of our letter, and let's hope they shut down for good.
And have you collected any fines, or what's the process in which you're going to go after the 7?
This is just beginning with these 7,
So-
the next 7 that I'm announcing today.
Yes. So are there court filings, or is it negotiations at this point?
We have some court filings for sure.
Oh, they've all been, we've filed lawsuits against each of these 7 in court today,
Oh, okay.
and that begins the litigation process.
That's why I was checking yesterday and couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else? All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.